sees that glossy fashion house image in your mind. A lone craftswoman in Paris, white coat crisp, jazz humming while she hand-stitches a Birkin by candlelight. Hermes has repeated that story for decades and charged five-figure prices to prove it. But 4 days ago, the veil ripped wide open when a cluster of Chinese factories dropped video receipts showing that as much as 80% of every Birkin and Kelly is cut, stitched, and edge-painted in Shenzhen, not Saint-Honoré. Hermes was never just selling leather, it was selling scarcity. First came the decade-long waitlists, then the infamous one-bag-a-year rule. Walk into a boutique, ask for a Birkin, and the sales associate smiles. Build a relationship first, maybe a few scarves or belts. That manufactured rarity trained us to believe each bag was a fragile work of art that required almost monk-like devotion to craft. Yet Hermes still reported $15.2 billion in 2024 revenue. Do the math. If a single artisan truly spends 2 full days on one bag, where is Hermes hiding the thousands of French artisans needed to hit those sales numbers? The answer, insiders now claim, is a network of Chinese plants humming 24/7 while Paris adds a final stamp. Enter TikTok's favorite leather surgeon, Tanner Leatherstein. He buys luxury bags, slices them open on camera, and grades the guts like a pathologist. When he filleted a brand new Birkin last week, viewers watched him tally raw material and labor costs at roughly $600, then compare that to the $26,000 boutique tag. He's the same whistleblower who exposed plastic-coated leather in Chanel and gold-toned hardware that isn't tea-gold at all. Each viral clip chips away at the "you get what you pay for" defense and pushes millions to ask whether exclusivity is just a clever illusion. Why are those Chinese suppliers suddenly talking? America's April 2025 tariff spike jacked import costs on everything from handbags to car parts, squeezing profit margins and igniting what TikTok calls the handbag trade war. Factory owners claim they're tired of taking blame for cheap knockoffs, when they are in fact Hermes's own ghost workshops. Their retaliatory move: post-proof, purchase orders, production videos, even close-ups of Hermes's embossed hardware fresh off their lines. Within hours, the clips racked up millions of views, and resale forums felt the tremor. Hermes's reply wasn't a heartfelt apology, it was a lawsuit stampede. In Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Ningbo courts, the brand is accusing multiple contractors of defamation and intellectual property misuse. Essentially, how dare you admit we hired you? Critics say that's like suing your own barber for telling people you wear a wig. But the legal salvo signals panic. Once consumers learned they're made in France, Purse took its first breath 5,000 miles east, the mystique and the margin could evaporate fast. So, if the bags are budget to build and the lawsuits look like smoke and mirrors, what happens to those sky-high price tags? Stick around. The math behind luxury markups is about to get messy. Let's crunch what Tanner's scalpel revealed. A top-grade calfskin hide runs about $150. Cutting and skiving, add $85. Saddle stitching, edge painting, hardware, packaging, stack it all, and you still hover near $600. Now glance at the boutique sticker, $26,000 on the low end, $300 for exotics. That's a markup north of $4,000%. Hermes defenders argue heritage justifies the gulf. But if 80% of the work happens in an anonymous Guangdong block, what exactly are buyers funding? Craftsmanship or storytelling? For years, Birkins were treated like bullion: buy, store, flip at a premium. But the factory leaks knocked that narrative off its pedestal. Data trackers now show certain colors: a taupe, gold, even cult favorite gris mouette, slipping 12–18% since January. Resellers whisper about soft asks and best offer panic, code for "please just take this bag off my hands." Collectors who treated closets like 401ks are discovering the downside of betting on brand mythology. Remember the relationship routine? Scarf today, bracelet tomorrow, maybe a bag next year? Insiders claim the game plays out differently behind closed doors. VIPs with purchase histories north of 6 figures can FaceTime their sales associate and have a Birkin shipped overnight. The illusion of scarcity keeps mid-tier clients on the treadmill while whales raid the stockroom. It's less an exclusive salon, more an economic funnel. So why hasn't demand crashed outright? Because your feed is still flooded with "Narb Unbox My Birkin Reels." Many of those bags are gifts or short-term loans. A brand rep slides into DMs, sends a 5-figure purse, and basks in free advertising when the creator squeals on camera. Some content houses even swap in dupes to dodge insurance woes. Real bag for the thumbnail, replica for the shoot. The label gets eyeballs either way, and the algorithm keeps the carousel spinning. Hermes isn't operating in a vacuum. Prada, Chanel, Louis Vuitton, they all lean on the same global assembly line, sprinkling just enough Italian or French labor to slap on the prestige tag. And there's a new pressure cooker, tariffs, EU transparency laws, and watchdog investors demanding traceability. When regulators start asking exactly which postcode that seam was stitched in, the entire luxury house of cards starts to wobble. If you've ever double-checked a Made in You tag after hearing this, drop an eye emoji in the comments. And hey, hit subscribe if you're curious how deep this rabbit hole goes. Block 3 unpacks the celebrity connection, and trust me, that spotlight burns bright. Picture Cardi B waving a neon orange Birkin on Instagram Live. The clip racks 1 million likes, Hermes trends on TikTok, and search traffic spikes 40% overnight. What you don't see, the quiet partnership contract, the bag written off as a marketing expense, and the clause that lets the star keep or resell the purse tax-free. The celebrity never feels the price sting, but their followers sure do. Here's the twist. Not every red carpet flash is authentic. Stylists under brutal calendar deadlines admit to renting or outright buying high-grade replicas when the real piece is back-ordered. Paparazzi photos still tag the brand, and the casual viewer never zooms close enough to spot a marginally different stitch length. The brand wins the headline, the celeb avoids the waiting list, and the public foots the illusion. Early 2025 saw the US impose a 35% tariff on luxury goods, hiding substantial Chinese content. The goal? Force brands to truthfully disclose origin or pay extra at the dock. For a company leaning on low-cost mainland labor, that's a margin massacre. Hermes answered by fast-tracking a PR tour of its French workshops, gleaming footage of artisans polishing hardware under soft light. Nice optics, but analysts noticed the math still flunks. A single workshop can fill global demand without outside help. Across the EU, activists push for residence of manufacture laws, QR codes that reveal every production stop. If that passes, a Paris hang tag would no longer eclipse the Shenzhen provenance lurking beneath. Luxury executives privately call it Label Armageddon. Publicly, they tout ongoing commitments to craftsmanship while lobbying to dilute the bill. Meanwhile, Reddit forums balloon with side-by-side teardown photos. Hermes versus $400 dupe. Same edge dye, same lining grain. Shoppers swap supplier tips, and the phrase factory extra trends on fashion subreddits. The takeaway? Quality is available without the 4-digit surcharge, if you're willing to forgo the logo. But before you torch your wish list, remember, not all leather is equal, and not all factories are ethical. The final block will arm you with questions that cut through marketing haze, plus one jaw-dropping stat about what really drives luxury prices. First checkpoint, the leather. Full grain ages, pebbles, and darkens. Corrected grain stays plastic smooth forever because it's literally sealed with polyurethane. Ask a sales associate, point blank, is this full grain or split corrected? If they dodge, you have your answer. Second, inspect edges. Hand-painted layers should reveal tiny brush ridges, not glossy plastic domes sprayed by machine. Next, run a magnet over clasps. Brass won't attract, low-cost zinc alloys will. Feel the weight. Solid brass hardware adds noticeable heft, one reason vintage bags feel substantial compared with some modern pieces. If a $20,000 purse can't spare real metal, that's a red flag waving under boutique lighting. Brands adore vague replies like, crafted in our European workshops. Translate that, we stitched the zipper in Spain. Push for the full breakdown. Ethical labels now provide QR codes mapping each step, from tannery to assembly line to packaging. If a legacy house balks, ask yourself why a century-old icon fears transparency more than a 5-year-old startup. Here ends the jaw-dropper. Analysts estimate up to 70% of a modern luxury bag as sticker price funds marketing, billboards, celebrity contracts, influencer seeding, not materials or labor. Imagine reallocating that budget into an independent artisan brand where 70% covers actual craft. The math suddenly feels a lot less mystical. Does this mean never buy high-end? Not at all. It means buy deliberately. If an Hermes Kelly still sparks joy after you've scrutinized its guts, go for it. Just know you're purchasing a story as much as a satchel. But if the fairy tale atelier vision was the only thing justifying the swipe, maybe let the card cool. Luxury faces two futures. 1. Cling to secrecy, sue whistleblowers, hike prices to preserve aura. 2. Embrace radical transparency, prove craftsmanship with receipts, and justify cost through undeniable quality. Whichever path wins depends on consumers like you. Brands shift only when the silence hurts more than the reveal. If today's deep dive peeled back a layer of leather-scented illusion, share this video with a friend who still believes every Birkin is born in Paris. Drop your wildest luxury surprise discovery in the comments. I read every story. And if you're ready for the next expose, spoiler, a watch brand whose Swiss-made dial masks a Hong Kong heartbeat, tap subscribe and ring that bell. Because the shine fades, but the truth? That lasts longer than calfskin.